Hello, children. Good morning. We have already started the story The Enemy, and yesterday the introduction of this story was discussed. Today we'll try to understand the writer Pearl Buck and will analyze various elements of this story, The Enemy. Remember, the story was written with the background of the war. America and Japan were at war. Pearl Buck, who had spent her childhood in Asia, in China, her parents were missionaries. The kind of humanitarian values she has or she has cherished, that is what is reflected in this story. When Americans hated the most the Japanese, she wants to convey in this story that they are also human beings like us. We have to treat them like human beings. The countries may be at war, but what about people? There's a totally different kind of bond among them. And she is trying to convey that appeal. She is trying to imbibe the moral values within us. She wants to make us humanistic. And with that intention, she has written this story. Now, let us first understand the writer Pearl S. Buck. Pearl S. Buck, a famous writer. You must read her works, particularly The Good Earth. And since the background in her novels or writings you find Asian, so these stories are more appealing to us. Pearl S. Buck was born in 1892 in Hillsborough, West Virginia. Her father, Absalom Sindistico, was a Presbyterian missionary stationed in the small town of Qingqiang outside Nanking. Consequently, Buck arrived in China when she was 5 months old. She was raised by a Chinese Amma who told her popular tales and myths, and she could speak and write both English and Chinese by the age of 4. She also played freely with the village children and in this way learned much about Chinese life. In 1900, when Buck was 8 years old, the Boxer Rebellion threw the Sidonians' life into turmoil. Chinese nationalists turned on Westerners, and for a while the family feared for their lives. Absalom sent Buck, her mother, and her baby sister to Shanghai, which was relatively safe for Westerners. In 1901, the family returned to America. However, they soon returned to China, heedless of danger. So here you'll find that she was educated in China. She has spent her early childhood in China. In 1909, Buck enrolled in Miss Jewel's School in Shanghai, an establishment that formally educated privileged Western girls, but that had lost much of its prestige in the previous years. While studying there, Buck also volunteered at the Golden Door, a shelter for Chinese slave girls and prostitutes. Her experience would mold her as a writer and as a person throughout her years in China, but continued to pay particular attention to the plight of oppressed and poor Chinese women and girls. In 1910, Buck returned to America and enrolled in Randolph Macon Women's College in Lynchburg, Virginia. Here she was well respected among her peers and received good grades but was unhappy. After graduation, she returned to China to take care of her mother who had become sick. While on vacation at Cooling, a resort for Westerners, she met John Lucien Buck, an agricultural economist with a degree from Cornell University. The two were married in 1917 and spent the next several years in the poor rural province of Nanshu. The landscape and people they met there inspired much of Buck's later writing, including The Good Earth. We are looking at the biographical sketch of Pearl S. Buck. It is with intention that you must read the writings of Pearl S. Buck, which has universal appeal. Remember, she was a Nobel laureate. Around this time, Buck's life changed considerably. She was forced to place her daughter Carol in an institution in New Jersey when caring for her became too difficult. By this point, Buck's marriage to her husband was failing, and although the couple was not divorced until years later, she informed him that she wanted to leave. Partly in order to pay for Carol's care, Buck took to writing full time in the 1920s, and her first novel, East Wind and West Wind, was published in 1930. The Good Earth was published soon after in 1930 and became an instant success. It was a major feature of the Book of the Month Club and sold out of stores very quickly. During the heyday of its success, Buck was still in China, far removed from hype the book caused. In her lifetime, she would publish another 70 books, many of them featured by the Book of the Month Club, but The Good Earth would remain her most famous. Buck moved back to America in the early 1930s and immediately began to campaign for minority and women's rights. She was a member of the NAACP and wrote numerous magazine articles on women's rights. During World War II, she spoke out against American internment of Japanese residents and after the war became a target for surveillance by Senator Joseph McCarthy and the FBI. In 1949, she founded Welcome House, the first international interracial adoption agency in the world, mostly to help Asian children fathered by American servicemen during wars abroad. In the late 1960s, she founded the Pearl S. Buck Foundation to provide foster care for these children. She also helped to open America's mind and attitude toward mental retardation by writing The Child Who Never Grew Up about her daughter Carol in 1950. They moved to Nanking where John taught at the university and in 1921 Pearl Buck gave birth to a baby girl whom they named Carol. But sadly, Buck's hopes for a large family were dashed when she was forced to have an emergency hysterectomy following Carol's birth. Buck was struck another blow soon after when baby Carol was found to be mentally retarded. So she has faced a lot of problems in her own life. So that is the reason why we have been discussing about her in detail. Then only you will understand the story well. The Buck family spent the winter of 1924-25 at Cornell University, where Buck earned an MA in English. Her master's thesis entitled China and the West won a faculty prize for the best essay of the year. During this time in America, Buck met Eleanor Roosevelt, who would prove to be a role model for her, and also adopted a baby girl. The family returned to China, racked by civil war. In 1927, the war reached the Buck family in Nanking. The president of the university was killed, and the Bucks spent some time in hiding, eventually fleeing to Japan for a year. One of Buck's most significant achievements was winning the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1938. She was the first American woman to win this prestigious award, the second being Toni Morrison in 1993. Always a humanitarian, She created a stir by refusing to set foot in Nazi Germany while she was in Europe to accept the award. However, the accomplishment she would probably have felt was the greatest was her family. Throughout her two marriages, she adopted many children, finally realizing her dream of having a large family. Pearl S. Buck died of lung cancer in 1973 at the age of 80. In her lifetime, she succeeded in opening Americans' minds about social, racial, and gender injustice in her writing and her acts. She had a profound influence on the way Americans think about China and about international relations in general. So she has made a great contribution to this world through her literature, and that is the reason she won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1938. Now let us discuss the different aspects of the story. The theme, very important. What is the theme of this story? The enemy gives the message that humanism transcends all man-made prejudices and barriers. That's your humanitarian values are very important. You may be biased, but if you are humane, then definitely you will not care for all this. You will surpass all those barriers. Dr. Sadao upholds the ethics of medical profession in treating an enemy. He's a doctor. Should he not treat his patient? Should he think him as an enemy? As a doctor, he should treat him. As a patriot, he should kill him. Now here, as a doctor, he treats him. But at the end, he saves him too. Then is he patriotic? That's a question. The story is a great lesson of peace, love, sympathy, fellow feeling, and humanism. This story of the enemy is basically divided into three parts. The first part is the introduction, the sudden appearance of the prisoner of war, and the disturbance in the family of Dr. Sadao. Dr. Sadao is in dilemma. His wife is in dilemma. But at the beginning she is reluctant. Later she is ready to help because of her husband. Dr. Sadao and his wife Hannah's constant tussle and hesitation about treating the white man and his actual treatment. That is in the middle part. And the end, that is the escape of the prisoner of war. So at first, sudden appearance of Tom, the prisoner of war, who is American, and he is washed ashore. He is there on the shores of Japan. Japan and America are at war, and he is on the verge of death. And it's a doctor who is Japanese saves his life. So sudden appearance, then the treatment or the tussle that goes on in the family of Dr. Sadao, and at the end, the escape of the prisoner of war, Tom. Let's understand the plot of this story. The story revolves around Dr. Sadao, a Japanese surgeon, and his family. One fine day, Dr. Sadao and his wife Hannah saw a man washed by the waves, and they immediately go near him to treat him. So what has happened? They have seen a man who has been washed ashore. When they turn him, they realize that he is a white man, an enemy, prisoner of war. So he is an enemy there. They go in dilemma whether they should treat him or not, because harboring or treating an enemy would bring danger to their family. Even then they treat him, though they are at risk. And Dr. Sadao, prompted by the professional duty, he operates upon him, extracts a bullet from his body, and saves his life. He also does not hand him over to the police. He does his duty as a citizen by telling about the man to the general. When the general fails to send his promised assassins, he helps the white man to escape to a nearby island in a boat. So, in brief, this is the plot of the story, The Enemy. Let's try to understand the story in a better way. Let's analyze the story. First of all, the title. The title of this story is extraordinarily ironic. And what is the title? The Enemy. But here, we don't see the hostility. But what do you see? They are helping their enemy, although it may not be immediately apparent. On its surface, the enemy appears to be fairly standard example of wartime literature. That it is written by a woman quickly explains why it is not a war story about combat, about fight, or the camaraderie of soldiers. It's not a war story. Pearl S. Buck wrote the kind of war story that only until about half a century after World War II, women would and could be expected to write. War as a domestic drama. And yet most of the characters and all of the vital ones are men. One is a soldier, another is a general, and a doctor. Only while the enemy may have been especially difficult to find among lists of the greatest fiction produced by World War II precisely because of what it lacks, the future may hold a greater honor for this seemingly simple tale because of its universal appeal. The Enemy is quite simply one of the essential stories of war because of the irony it demonstrates, as well as the irony of it not being a story about warriors. The enemy is returned. Both countries are at war, but it is not about the war. It is about the human values, humanitarian values. The protagonist is an intensely nationalist citizen of Japan who believes with every fiber of his being that the people of his country, those with pure Japanese bloodlines, at any rate, are superior to everyone else on the planet. And this goes double for those with white skin. No indication is given of Dr. Sadao Hockey's opinion of those with black skin. But then, how many would he have met? Much less have gotten to know, as well as the white people he met while studying medicine in America. Sadao's father is a very conservative. He appears to be racist. Sadao's wife is every bit as racist as he is. And as for the house servant staff, this prejudicial perspective is double. The servants finally have enough of watching their employers furtively giving aid and comfort to the enemy in the form of a wounded white soldier who washed ashore one night. Their lower economic and cultural status affords them the ability to commit full to the national cause. The natural compassion one expects to find in any physician limits that ability for the doctor because she is dependent upon him, though hardly a stereotypical portrait of a submissive Japanese woman, and because she is revealed to have been educated in America as well, Sadao's wife Hana shares some of her husband's compassion. She is so repulsed by the white man that she cannot bear to touch him or be in his company for very long. But she sides with her husband in the decision to treat the severely wounded soldier rather than him over for certain torture and likely death. Why does she help her husband? She also was educated in America. Both of them got introduced to each other in America. And that's why we can see she also shares some of the compassion what her husband had for this American who was an enemy. But that compassion was not shown or exhibited by the servants who were patriot to the core. It's not that Sadao was not patriot. He was also patriot. But he was also a doctor, a humanitarian doctor who stood for the humanitarian values. Thank you. Goodbye. Start studying this story in detail from tomorrow onwards. Good day.